In the last week, there have been many protests and a lot of tension in Hong Kong, which is a region to the south of most of mainland China. It's fair to say that Hong Kong and China have a very complex relationship with one another, and this is really at the heart of the current political crisis in Hong Kong and explains the demonstrations that are happening. And it's this that I want to talk about in this video. Why is the relationship between Hong Kong and the rest of China so complicated? If you want to know more about exactly why people in Hong Kong are protesting at the moment, then I have a video on that which you can find in a link in the description below. The main issue the protesters have is with a certain extradition bill, because the judicial system in Hong Kong is different to that in mainland China. And what this extradition bill would do is allow criminals to be extradited from Hong Kong to mainland China so that they would face mainland Chinese courts instead of Hong Kong courts. The reason why there are two different court systems, one on Hong Kong and one in the rest of China, is because of a certain Northwest European colonial power that was very important and influential, especially through use of its navy, which it used to further the trading endeavours of its East India Company. Not that one, the other one. In 1839, the British went to war with the Chinese Qing government in the First Opium War. There would be a second one, but during the First Opium War, British soldiers managed to capture the port city of Hong Kong from the Chinese. And in 1898, they actually extended and signed a 99-year lease, which is the longest term lease that you could get for British sovereignty over Hong Kong. So while China went through its various stages of development, becoming a republic, and then the Second Republic, and then with the Japanese invasion, and then the communists winning the Chinese Civil War, Hong Kong remained a British colony. While China developed on the mainland, Hong Kong was very much influenced by Britain and by Britain's judicial system and all of that. So while China underwent a social revolution and a cultural revolution and went towards communism, Hong Kong remained very much a capitalist system and as a result became a booming and very successful economy. In 1984, with the expiry date of the 99-year treaty upon them, the British and the Chinese got together and signed the Sino-British Joint Declaration, which did in fact prepare Hong Kong for being returned to the People's Republic of China. However, there were certain provisos. Of course, the Chinese state was a socialist one, and its record on human rights and the judiciary wasn't great. However, in Hong Kong, the British said that for a period of 50 years, the Chinese wouldn't interfere with the economic situation in Hong Kong, that it would remain a capitalist system, and that they would have their own judicial system, that they could essentially make their own laws and charge their own people in Hong Kong as an autonomous area that was part of China but wasn't subject to all its laws, at least for the first 50 years. So in 1997, the British officially ceded control over Hong Kong to the People's Republic of China. And so because of the Sino-British Joint Declaration, until 2047, which is 50 years after that date, the people of Hong Kong should be able to be ruled by their own judiciary and under their own economic system. So the reason so many in Hong Kong have been protesting is because they view this as the Chinese state interfering in Hong Kong's internal affairs that they shouldn't be meddling in until 2047. Alright everyone, so thank you very much for watching. This has been a video that's obviously related to the last video I did on Hong Kong, where I explained about the extradition bill and how this gives the Chinese authorities extra power in Hong Kong, which they see as a very bad thing because the Chinese judicial system isn't exactly the best in the world, to put it lightly. But this is a bit more about the actual history behind that, with the British and the First Opium War, and then the handing over of what was the colony of Hong Kong in 1997 to the Chinese, and also why now the British are getting involved and why there's been all sorts of press with Boris Johnson and Jeremy Hunt being asked about what they think about the situation. And I think the Chinese, the ambassador in the United Kingdom, firing some shots at the United Kingdom's government for saying stay out of China's internal affairs, but the British going, no, we actually said this was the agreement that we signed in 1984, that this is what would happen, and you're now going against this. So I hope it's been somewhat interesting. I guess I'll be following very closely what happens in Hong Kong to see what goes on there, and I'll make some more videos on this if people are interested. So thank you very much for watching. This has been The History, and I have been Hilbert.